Mother tongue. Another assumption that we are going to challenge in this module is the mother tongue. So what do we mean by the term mother tongue? As we will see, that this term is quite ambiguous. Now, generally, when we talk about what is mother tongue, we say, this is the language that is spoken at home in early childhood. However, this language might not be spoken now. Now, if we take this definition and move on, then you have this United Nations resolution passed in 1953, which urges the nations to actually take up mother tongue in school environment and to give early education in the mother tongue. So over here also, mother tongue is equalized with the vernacular. Now, teaching of the mother tongue is actually argued because you want the child to remember where he or she belongs to, and you want a certain maintenance of their culture, ideology, and the languages that they have been speaking at home. So we are saying now that mother tongue means that these are home languages that might be spoken by the child or might not be spoken at the child, but the child is exposed to it. Now, there is an argument that this term mother tongue has been coined with the sense of this construct of nationhood, this fatherland, a common fatherland. So since you wanted the people to realize that they have this common fatherland, or they were a common nation, they wanted a mother tongue to somehow support it in consolidating the community and bringing them together politically. And that is why language is often associated with nationhood, as we'll see in the later modules. And it is also argued that more often than not, in these cases, the mother tongue might be standardized, and when this nation or community becomes independent, you might as well declare it as an official language. However, the concept of mother tongue is often related to this power differential in the society. So mother tongue is about languages that are spoken at home, but they are not spoken in the wider public space. If we are saying that mother tongue would literally mean, for instance, that language that the mother uses with a child, then what about the multiple languages being used at home? What if the father has a different language and the mother has a different language? What if the mother is not speaking one language and actually translanguaging and has multiple languages to her linguistic repertoire? Or what if a mother has a different language but chooses not to use that language with the child? Will you still call that a mother tongue? And then what do you say when the child is bilingual, because the child might be learning another language from his or her peers at school or outside in the community, and the mother remains monolingual? So as this discussion shows, this is quite a complicated and complex construct, which we tend to overuse without actually thinking about the implications of what we actually mean by the mother tongue. Now, Skutnat-Kangas in 1981 came up with the criteria because she realized that it was difficult to define what a mother tongue was. So she says there are these 4 criteria. For instance, number 1 is origin. So the language that the child learns first or in origin in terms of acquiring bilingualism can be stated as mother tongue. Then she says competence. If a child has more competence in one language rather than the other language, we might call it the mother tongue. And then function. That would mean the more a child uses a language to perform different functions that he or she has to perform in a social context, then you call that a mother tongue. And lastly, identification. The language with which a person identifies himself or herself, calling it my language, that language might be assigned to that person as a mother tongue. But as we go through this criteria, you must be thinking very clearly by now that these are all ambiguous criteria where there is a room for a lot of complexity. For instance, what if multiple languages are spoken, siblings are speaking another language? What about translanguaging? What about father's language? And at times we will also see that at times the countries, for instance in Singapore or other countries also, the officially assigned mother tongue to be used in a school might not be the actual mother tongue that is being used at home. So over here, what they do, for instance, if we take the context of Singapore again, they use this ethnic language. For Indians, they choose Tamils, and for Chinese, they choose Mandarin, and they assign them as mother tongue and to be taught as mother tongues and considered as mother tongue education. However, interestingly, this ethnic origin of the language is determined by looking at father's language and not the mother's language. So it is argued over here that it is best to call these languages home languages rather than the mother tongue.